So normally I would start this video intro off by going into some cards I'm going to talk about today. And while I do have some cards picked out for you later on in this video, that will be a little bit abbreviated. Because what I want to do today is spend a little bit of time right off the bat talking about the wrestling card market overall. Where it's at, where it's been, where it's going. And believe it or not, this is because I want to respond to an interesting exercise that I saw done by a big sports card platform. This is the Wrestling Card Market Watch for October 2021. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. I'm your host, Zhan. You can check me out all over social platforms at Zhan Morning. So let's just jump right into it. The wrestling card market is not what it once was. In the past year or two, we have seen some huge jumps in pricing. And the wrestling card space in the hobby as a whole has gained a lot of popularity. This isn't just die-hard wrestling fans anymore. People are finally starting to pay a little bit of attention to wrestling cards. Not to mention paying some serious money for some of these cards. But Zhan, you're always talking about how the major platforms and the major networks don't want to talk about wrestling. They don't want to give it the time of day. They don't want to respect the cards. Well, actually, let's talk about that. So I was watching the latest video from Card Ladder on their YouTube page. As I've spoke about before, I love consuming content that's hobby-related content that's outside of the bubble of wrestling cards. Even if it's topics that I'm not really interested in, I feel like I can learn a lot from these people that are talking. Take that information and then try to fit it into how I collect and how I'm doing wrestling cards. But anyway, back to Card Ladder. If you're unfamiliar with Card Ladder, they're a software company that provide a way to track your collection and the value of it, provide sales data, and much, much more. And while they don't have a ton of wrestling cards on their platform, there's definitely a solid representation. And on this video they did, I found two pieces of data that I really wanted to dig into and that I think are very important for where we're at in wrestling cards and where we're going. The first thing is this. Look at wrestling cards here. According to the CL50 index, which is Card Ladder's aggregated daily value and the movements within the top 50 cards on their platform, wrestling was actually down whenever this was recorded more than any other category. Now again, this is just a snapshot of whenever they were recording this. And I'm not sure of the exact time frame, percentage. Was this an all-time? Was this just within the 24 hours? And some may see this and say, okay, you know what? I knew wrestling cards were crap. I knew they were going downhill. I've seen those prices going down. And this just proves my point that wrestling cards suck. But with that information, let's take a pause and let's look at something else that Card Ladder showed off. So look at this. This is where wrestling cards ranked when comparing to other categories within the hobby from the time the pandemic started until current day. There are 110 wrestling cards in the Card Ladder system, which most of these cards are on the higher end, the more key iconic cards that most of us are familiar with. These cards were up 390% since the time of the pandemic until now. This is huge. This is phenomenal because many people, myself included, think that wrestling cards don't get the love they deserve. And while I still think that, clearly this chart states otherwise. The fact that wrestling cards finished in the middle, that's a huge win for me. We beat out baseball. We beat out hockey. We beat out golf. Now, if you look a little closer at this graph, you can see that wrestling cards did take a little bit of a dip, but also if you look at it, a new floor has been set for wrestling cards. We may be at a point where wrestling cards are no longer just seen as throwaways. And for me personally, this is the kind of steady increase I like to see with collectibles. Steady climbs up, new floor set, rinse and repeat. Another thing I wanted to look at with this Card Ladder data is what is their most valuable card on their platform within the wrestling card category. We all know all of the big money, record-setting, very popular wrestling cards that are out there. But what did Card Ladder have to say about it? Well, this may be good news for all of you Andre the Giant collectors out there. The 1982 Wrestling All-Stars Andre the Giant PSA 9 came in as their most valuable wrestling card on their platform. I want to take a second to say thank you to Card Ladder, Josh, Chris, Christina. Thank you guys for taking the time to include wrestling on your platform and within this exercise. As I've said before, many big sports cards, social media, and platforms don't give wrestling the time of the day. Or maybe they just mention it and then just keep going. But you guys at Card Ladder did, so thank you once again for shining a light on wrestling. Now I want to take a second to say if you're enjoying this video, please hit that subscribe button. It's free. That's the best way you can help support the show. Give me a like, and please share this video on social media. Let's get it going. Let's get those sports platforms that aren't talking about wrestling cards to see this and say, hey, wrestling cards are a thing. Also, feel free to tag me in it. Again, let's get the discussion going. All about community building, having discussions around wrestling cards. Share it with a friend. Share it with a wrestling fan that's not collecting. Also, make sure to check out the links in the show notes to everything else I'm involved with. We've got the Wrestling with Cards podcast. We've got the Worlds Collide podcast. Please subscribe to those shows as well, and leave a review if you dig it. We've got the Wrestling with Cards Patreon community page, where you can contribute as little as $1 a month, or you can go up to a higher tier. All different ways you can get involved with the content that I'm producing. You want to come on the show? That option is there. You want your name in the credits? That option's there. Would you like access to exclusive videos? That's there too. Links to my social platforms. Links to my eBay store. Links to if you want to buy me a coffee. Although today I'm drinking a Bang, so... Now I know I said the actual cards and the sales that I was going to touch on will be abbreviated, but I can't let you, the Wrestling with Cards community, down by not at least talking about some interesting cards, right? So let's get into it. 1995 Bravo Sport German Sting magazine card, $5.95. You guys know how much I love oddball cards, and this is definitely one of those. This card was available in the 1995 Bravo magazines. One of the coolest things about the cards in this set to me is the fact that here we are in 1995, we're about to get into that Monday Night War phase, and yet you have a card set that has both WCW and WWF talent in the same set. It's interesting that we see products sometimes come out in countries not named the United States that feature multiple promotions within their card sets. It's got to be a licensing or rights issue, I'm guessing. So this Sting card, again, $5.95, just a cool card. It's not something that I see is going to be like some kind of huge value thing, but it is harder to find than some of the other Sting cards or other cards around this time period. But if you're a Sting player collector, first of all, get a hold of me. I want you to come on the show. I want to talk about your collection. But secondly, if you like Sting, that's just a cool card to pick up on the cheap. 2000 WCW Nitro Hardcore TCG, that's trading card game, in case you guys didn't know. Sealed box, $1,200. Wow. Talk about a high price for some obscure wax. So I don't know a ton about these cards specifically, but from what I could find, this is basically expansion cards that you could add to your decks to the WCW Nitro trading card game that came out the same year. Now, I am familiar with those because I had bought some of those in the past, but I never actually played the game. Now, I do see some cards from both the Nitro and this hardcore set. I do see them floating around as singles from time to time, prices, all over the place. And some of them have actually been graded too. But as far as this hardcore product in a sealed container, I've never seen it before. And while I know this is an oddball release, it's just another example of how long-term sealed wax always wins. It's never going to go down. You're always going to either break even or make a tremendous amount of money on sealed product going forward. The real question is, do you have the willpower to not rip it and let it sit there on your shelf staring at it? 1987-88 CMLL Lucha Libre magazine cards, $1,499.99. However, a best offer of $600 was accepted. That's a pretty high price for this magazine. So clearly, the Eddie Guerrero card within this magazine set is the crown jewel of this buy. This is a very strange card. I've actually never seen this before. Many people out there want to talk about the 1995 BBM out of Japan, the Black Tiger card, which is Eddie Guerrero under a mask. Some other people want to say, hey, that 1998 WCW pack pullable Eddie Guerrero, that's his rookie card. That's the first one. But now we see this one from 10 years prior, if you're comparing that 1998 to this Eddie Guerrero card, young Eddie Guerrero. Do we now have to look at this specific card and say, hey, that's the rookie card, that's the first one? Or is the wrestling card community like, it's not pack pullable? I don't think so. I don't know what the answer is, but I would love to hear what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Do you think this is the Eddie Guerrero rookie card, or do you prefer the 95 or 98 as that? 2020 Topps WWE Fully Loaded Vince McMahon Auto. This one's numbered to 40, $2,000. I still think Vince McMahon is highly disrespected in the cardboard world, and maybe that has a little bit to do with modern wrestling fans. I think with WWE releasing, I think it was like 80 different wrestlers over the span of the last calendar year, and the way that the company is run and perceived, I think that modern fans are just kind of sick of WWE from that perspective. Right or wrong, they're taking it out on Vince and the company. But there are also those out there paying $2,000 for Vince McMahon autos or more. They totally understand. They get it. He is the Walt Disney of professional wrestling. So the prices for Vince autos, again, slowly going up. Not, the just huge leap to the moon, but just slowly going up. And that's what I love to see in collectibles. Also, Vince doesn't sign that much, period. let alone I haven't seen a lot of these fully loaded cards come out. So in my opinion, again, Vince McMahon autos, always a great buy. 2020 Topps Chrome Alexa Bliss Red Refractor out of 5 on card autograph, $2,500. However, best offer was accepted of $1,100. I could be wrong here, but in my opinion, it seems like Alexa Bliss has just kind of taken over the wrestling card market for the last few years. Regardless of whether she's on top, regardless of whether she's changed gimmicks, or regardless if she's just completely off TV. Her cards, her popularity, and the demand for those just through the roof. In my opinion, she is slowly getting to that point where I would like to say that she's like the Hulk Hogan or The Rock of the women's wrestling card space. In fact, there are probably some sales numbers you can look out there where she's actually outselling Hogan and Rock. And I say that because of the track record. Again, I see people flexing her cards. I see the demand for the cards. I see the prices for all of her cards. Also, one other thing I want to mention about this card, and it's not anything new, it's old news, I talked about it before, but this is a pretty big sale, right? $1,100, that's a good amount of money. But wait for it, it's not a rookie card. It's limited. There's only 5 copies of this specific card. It's shiny and a solid product that people love, WWE Topps Chrome, and it's an on-card autograph. That's a triple threat of hobby goodness, especially in the wrestling card space. And sometimes that's all you need for a card to be valuable, sought after, and put on a pedestal within the hobby. Thanks for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, tell a friend about this show, this channel, my podcast, everything I'm doing. Speaking of that, check the links in the show notes if you'd like to find other ways you can help support my content and other things that I'm involved with. Thank you for watching once again, but until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content. We'll see you there.